Hello, sir. How are you?
Joey, how are you?
I'm good. We did this last year, so I'm
I know.
now counting on this because last year we bemoaned the Jets and the Mets, and one of them is doing a little better now.
One of them is doing a little better, but
Yes,
Sundays it's still like hitting yourself with a hammer.
it is. I've showed my girlfriend is curious why I do it to myself, and I don't have a good explanation, but I
Do
have
you
to.
think the Jets could beat Alabama this year?
Probably not this year. No, definitely not in previous years. No. Yeah,
Okay.
it's bad. Well, because they're just their defense is like I think you and I might get a first down on them, and that's
Yeah.
yeah, like 3 or 4 yards, and that shouldn't happen. But I on this, I love the film because I love your writing. So
Thank you.
you could write about anything. We even disagreed about Charlie Wilson's War to prove the point. Like I literally like everything.
I
But
appreciate that. Thank
oh
you.
yeah, you it's always interesting when you pick something because you could craft something out of whole cloth or you could adapt something. Like, there are very few people who wouldn't want you to write their thing. So when you decide you want to, drive yourself up a wall for 6 months to a year, what's the spark? Like, why do it?
Yeah. Well, it first of all, you're making a good point. That's why it takes me a little while to say yes, to commit to something, because it's going to be a big commitment, and it's going to be more than 6 months or a year. It's going to be closer to 2 years, uh, uh, and and most of that time is going to be agony and terror, and just a feeling that you're going to blow it, let everybody down, and you're never going to be able to write this. Um, but then something happens during the sort of contemplation phase that that makes you want to write it. Maybe suddenly you have an idea for a first scene, and that feeling of wait, I can come down from the wall now. I'm really jazzed to write this first scene. I know that I'll feel good at the end of the day because I accomplished something. And once I write the first scene, then I kind of have to write the second scene.
Yeah.
I can't leave it alone. In the case of Being the Ricardos, it was 18 months from the first meeting to me saying yes. Todd Black, our producer, called me in and asked me if I wanted to write a movie about the relationship between Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. I something I hadn't thought about. Uh, I told him right away that I wanted to read anything he wanted me to read, but that what I wouldn't want to do is a biopic, a cradle to grave. This happened, then this happened, then this happened story. And we kept having meetings, maybe once a month, once every 2 months. And in each of these meetings, he would just kind of tell me more Lucy and Desi stories. And as we went along, one thing like, did you know that Lucy was accused of being a communist, became two things, like the issue about a woman being pregnant on TV, became three things like Desi showing up with another woman on the cover of Confidential magazine and the headline Desi's Wild Night Out. Uh, and I got this idea that what if it all took place during one production week of I Love Lucy, Monday table read to Friday audience taping. Those three events that I just described did not all happen in the same week, but doesn't matter. Dramatists can do that. And so I got to the yes. Finally, I think, by Lucy Arnaz, the daughter of Lucy and Desi, at a lunch, leaning over to me and saying, "My mother wasn't an easy woman. Take the gloves off."
Mm,
And that was an attractive idea to me.
for sure. And I mean, I think it's also sort of the great equalizer that whether it's me, a fucking idiot writing a review, or one of the great screenwriters of the time, like there is a moment where you're staring at your computer going, I got nothing. And I got to put the
Oh,
first thing down. And that's the thing.
I, um, I have no trouble at all empathizing with another writer.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're going through when you're writing. I know that you're seeing that flashing cursor and nothing else, just that empty screen and the feeling of I have written everything I'm ever going to write. I've used every word I know in every order I can think of.
And you know that once you do it, it's going to be fine. But it's the start.
Yeah, but no matter how many times we prove ourselves wrong,
Oh, yeah.
we still think it. Listen, I wrote The West Wing for 4 years, and there never, ever was a time when I would finish a script and feel like I could write the next one.
Yeah.
You know, after the pilot got picked up, and I didn't open champagne, all I thought was, oh my God, there has to be an episode 2. What could that possibly be? And that went on for 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, the results speak for itself. But you've added the fun quirk of now you get to direct it and worry about 37 other things too.
Yes.
As opposed to, you know, you pass it off and go, haha, it's Fincher's problem. Fuck him. Now it's your problem. Oh, fuck me.
That's right. It's funny that you used those words because when I've directed the last 3 screenplays that I've written, but I still haven't written a screenplay knowing that I was going to be the director of it. That always came as a surprise afterward. But when Steven Spielberg handed me the reins of Chicago 7, he said, now the riots are your problem.
Yeah, you'll figure it out now.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Like, what is it? The Politician was the one that I think you was intended to direct, and it didn't happen because you intended to direct it. So, see, just never write assuming you'll direct.
It's right. I can't remember if I was thinking about directing that. I think Ari Emanuel was thinking about it more than I was.
Yeah.
But that was a story just couldn't get my arms around.
Yeah. Well, you both sold a copy of the book. I read that train wreck, and I was like,
Yeah, that's right.
I can kind of see it, but also, yeah, like there's some of a movie there. There's not a whole movie, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can't remember his name now. Andrew Young.
Andrew
that's
Young.
wrote the book. Yeah. In that case, is there any chance this next bit can be off the record?
We can
Or
just
just
do
a
it after
podcast.
we can talk about it after we stop if you want.
Okay, you know what? I won't bother.
Yeah, don't worry.
I couldn't get my arms around the Politician.
They weren't the greatest people, so I'm not shocked, but whatever.
Right.
But I mean, listen, you're dealing with, you know, real people also playing fictionalized characters, but oddly, that's what people have the more firm grasp on. So I personally, I like that you didn't show more than 3 minutes of the show, because that's what we know. That's not why we're watching you.
That's right. Listen, one of the interesting things that I discovered is that people seem unable to separate Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz from Lucy and Ricky Ricardo.
Yeah.
And I am aware that you know, people have been under the impression that the movie is somehow a remake of I Love Lucy or something, or that Nicole is playing Lucy Ricardo, which, as you pointed out, she does for less than 3 minutes, and it's shards of it here and there.
And it's perfect, but part of what I think makes it work is that we're not watching it for more than a beat or two at a time.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that the reason we're seeing it at all is that we're in Lucy's head, whether it's at the table read, being pitched a story in the writer's room, or at rehearsal. We see that she's a comedic chess master who is able to, you know, look at a couple of lines on a page and project out what it's going to look like on Friday in front of the audience. Will that joke work? Is there a logic problem? If I'm going to be stomping on grapes, is there going to be enough for me to do in that grapes before I'm just standing there in front of the audience with nothing to do? So there's a point to the scenes, to the I Love Lucy scenes that we're seeing.
Oh yeah. And then just even when you're choosing cast at this point, because now that like you said, it's your problem now.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know that your dialogue requires, you know, a rhythm. It's you know, there's a style that's different than, you know, anyone else, and very different than, you know, probably the last script they read and the next script they'll read. So at any point, are you thinking, oh, I know that person can handle it, or is it just, I want J.K. Simmons, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it?
No, I have to know that they can handle language.
Yeah.
For Lucy, for instance, what I needed was a great dramatic actress with a dry sense of humor, who had a strong facility with language. Same thing for Desi. Same thing for all of them.
Yeah.
In the case of J.K., I knew it already because J.K. was an understudy in my very first play, A Few Good Men, and I got a call that he was going on at a Wednesday matinee. He covered the part that Nicholson played in the movie.
All right. Yeah, I was trying to figure out who it would be.
And he blew the roof off that theater. It was amazing. You knew, watch this guy. I was the least surprised person in the world when he won the Oscar for Whiplash.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, I don't feel like anyone else has really cast him with this. Like, my grandfather used to talk about Damon Runyon characters. And I was like, oh, I've now seen one. Like,
Yeah.
this is just that guy.
He's
That's
a great
who he
Damon
was.
Runyon character.
Yeah. It's just fun to watch because, like you said, there's a dry wit to Lucy, but she's also the smartest person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you have the guy who's happy to read the paper and go, tell me when I'll say my lines. I'm good.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
And we also have Nina Arianda playing Vivian Vance. And you say Vivian Vance to anyone, and they will conjure up an image of the frumpy landlady from downstairs.
Yeah.
When in fact, Vivian Vance was a beautiful, glamorous stage ingenue who was cast in a role you wouldn't think of her for.
I just spoke to her, and it's what's more compelling to play than an actress getting to play a role where you play someone who's like, I want just a little bit more. Like I had it, and I'm watching someone else play a role that I could play. It's catnip.
Oh yeah, exactly right. And the fact that Lucy just kind of wouldn't allow her to be in any way appealing and they were best friends. I keep talking about these interesting points of friction. That was one of them.
Right. Well, I think there's nothing more interesting than friction for people who you think you know about, because you imagine, and most people's lives are mostly calm, but those friction points are where the drama is.
Yeah, and you just hit the buzzer, because for me, there is the only thing better than a story that you haven't heard yet is a story you think you've heard.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that we think we know these people is helpful to the experience of watching the movie.
Totally, because I'm sure you sit there listening to people, like you said, oh, it's about all the things that you know it's not, and you're old enough now to not engage, but at the same time, you're like,
yeah,
no, you're gonna find out.
Honestly, I get a smile on my face. I remember with The Social Network, the word got out that I was writing a movie about Facebook, and everybody, with a computer, hated the idea because they assumed that this was going to be about Jason Segel and Drew Barrymore friending each other and falling in love. And I thought that this is fantastic. They're just not going to see this movie coming.
Keep doing it. Yeah, exactly. Which leads to a couple weeks ago, when people finally see it and go, holy shit. Like this is just like crackerjack entertainment. And you beat them on two levels. You get to make a good movie and you get to exceed expectations in a way that you shouldn't. Like normally people should go, this needs to be this good because it's Aaron Sorkin. But instead you get to be like, oh, you expected this. I've beat you twice.
Give me all the low expectations I can get.
I mean, listen, who do we root for? We low expectations are our friend. Like, who else goes, well, if we lose tomorrow, we can have the second pick in the draft. And that would be because we're going to have the second pick in a 1-player draft or the 4th pick in a 3-player draft. We can't win, but such is life. But congratulations again on this. There will be more awards in your future. I know that's not why you do it, but to do it and to know it worked has to be it's
seeing the way audiences are reacting to it at our screenings has been incredibly gratifying.
Oh yeah, and I saw you guys a couple weeks ago at the thing in New York where at the reception afterwards, just everyone racing to talk to you guys, which I'm sure is also overwhelming. You're like, I'm not used to this many people anymore.
It's a glamorous problem.
Oh yeah, totally, exactly. Thank you again for doing this. This is a pleasure.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.